Hey, welcome to the March 19th, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting. This is an in-person and virtual meeting with Environmental Quality Commission members, city staff, and members of the public. I would like to move on to roll call. I'd like to introduce staff and EQC members present. In the room, we have Commissioners Kissel, Headley, Lopez Hernandez, Meyer, Pellegrini Yopart, and Vice Chair McKenna. Commissioner Hill is joining us virtually using provisions from Assembly Bill 2449.
She's not online yet, so let's.
No.
Yeah. So we'll just have her be absent for now. When she joins, we can introduce her.
Okay. So. And then staff presence includes Sustainability Manager Rachel Lunder and Management Analyst 2, Liz Tapia. Ms. Lunder, would you please provide instructions to the commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Absolutely. Thank you, Vice Chair McKenna. I'd like to share some information about public comment this evening. We have public comment cards right here if you're interested in making public comment at the beginning of the meeting or with each item. I think we'll be able to accommodate public comments of up to 3 minutes tonight. And if you are signing online, you can hit the raise hand button and we can unmute you for public comment. And if you're calling in, just press *9 and we'll be able to unmute you. And that's it for me for now, so I'll return the meeting to you.
Thank you, Ms. Lunder. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. While you are not required to provide your name or city of residence, it is helpful. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment, other than to provide general information. Sustainability Manager Lunder, would you please call for public comment?
Sure. If you'd like to make public comment on an item not on the agenda, you can fill out a public comment card and return it to me if you're in the room. If you're online, you can press the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on your mobile device, I believe it's to the right of your name. And if you're calling in, you can press *9. So I see we have one public comment in the room. And I don't see any hand raised online, but feel free to raise your hand and we'll get started with our comment in the room. Let me pull up our timer here for 3 minutes. All right, Mr. Schmidt, you're good to go whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Brian Schmidt from Menlo Spark. Looking forward to the council priority session this Saturday. Menlo Spark submitted comments in preparation that were requested by the council. I wanted to briefly summarize them. That most of them will not be surprising to this commission. Please ensure the success of the $4.5 million electrification grant that Menlo Park received. Go above and beyond the bare minimums for the 2025 beach codes using those options that are available in the state. And the Peninsula Clean Energy Ordinance as a potential model. Consider fixing the forthcoming quotes hole on the El Camino for bike lanes, given that bike lanes are forthcoming in Mountain View, Palo Alto, Atherton, and Redwood City, with Menlo Park therefore being whole. The last one, which I haven't really discussed here before, is consider new efforts to achieve the 2030 climate action plan goals. And just what I hope to get at some point, maybe for discussion, is 2030 is coming up. And the goal was 90% reduction in emissions from 2017, I believe, to 2030. That is going to be extremely difficult. So I think we need to be thinking about what we can do to best achieve that, or to otherwise work on what to do this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I'll make one final call for public comment. If you're in the room, just raise your hand. And if you're online, you can press the raise hand button, or if you're calling in, you can press *9. I don't see any more public comment for items not on the agenda, so I'll return the meeting to you, Vice Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on to item D, regular business. D1, we will welcome new Commissioner Eduardo Lopez Hernandez. I wanted to offer you a warm welcome to our newest Commissioner Eduardo Lopez Hernandez, who was appointed by City Council during their February 25th meeting. Commissioner Lopez Hernandez, if you'd like, you are welcome to introduce yourself.
Yes, so my name is Eduardo. I have been living in Menlo Park for the last 25 years. And I live in the Bellhaven area. So I'm originally from Mexico and I moved to the United States in 1996. Yeah. And I work here at Stanford.
Awesome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, warm welcome. We're very happy to have you as part of the commission. Are there any clarifying questions from EQC before we take public comment? No. And Ms. Lunder, do we have any public comment on this item?
Sure, let me open up public comment for item D1, welcoming our new commissioner. If you're in the room and you'd like to make public comment, let me know. And if you are calling in or joining us via Zoom, you can either press *9 or the raise hand button. I don't see any hands raised online or cards in the room, so I'll return the meeting to you, Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, again, warm welcome. We're really happy to have representation from District 1. We'll now move on to item D2, approve the February 19th, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes. Are there any clarifying questions from EQC before we take public comment? Commissioner Headley?
Yeah,
Did you have a
I have
question?
a clarifying question. In the minutes, like, I think last time we discussed the importance of having outreach also in Spanish,
Mhm.
and it didn't seem to be reflected in the meeting minutes.
For item,
Item
the electrification
D3,
item,
D3.
D3, so that was the reach code, the
Yeah.
amendment item.
It was. It was related to outreach.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if, do you want a specific,
Yeah, during the discussion part, let's add that to the motion to amend the minutes.
I'll come up with an amendment now.
All right, well, we'll open for public comment.
Any other clarifying comments from EQC? Okay. Do we have any public comment?
Okay, I'm opening public comment for item D2, approving the February 19th minutes. If there's any public comment in the room, you can let me know. If you're calling in, you can press *9. If you're joining via Zoom, you can press the raise hand button. And I'm not seeing any public comment, so we can open it up for discussion. And then we can circle back to our attendance. Welcome, Commissioner Hill.
Okay, we now have a chance to discuss the meeting minutes from February 25th and make a motion.
Okay, I'm looking at them, can I go?
Yes,
I'm looking
please.
at the minutes now. It says 2 in-person workshops with interpretation. But maybe we should say Spanish interpretation, just to be super clear. And I think I missed that, so it's probably not as big of a deal as I was originally thinking.
That sounds good. And then, Commissioner Hill, we won't have you speak on this item yet because we haven't introduced you under the AB 2449. But Commissioner Hill emailed me that there was a typo, that the meeting was facilitated by Commissioner Schmidt, not Vice Chair McKenna. So we'll make that change as well. So if we could get a motion to make that adjustment to update the meeting facilitation by Vice Chair McKenna and adding the Spanish in front of interpretation.
Great. Do we have a motion? Sure. Second?
Would you like me to repeat it or do we feel good?
Go ahead and state the motion, please.
Sure. Okay, we have a motion by Fleetwood Part and a second by Commissioner Headley to approve the February 19th, 2025 Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes with 2 amendments. Replacing Chair Schmidt's name with Vice Chair McKenna and adding Spanish in front of interpretation on item D3. All in favor?
Ignore.
The motion passes with 6 present and 1 absent. Okay. Do you want me to restate? Motion again? We're good?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then,
So now we'll invite Commissioner Hill. So Commissioner Hill again is joining virtually using provisions from Assembly Bill 2449. Commissioner Hill, could you please provide us with a general description of the circumstances for participating remotely through AB 2449 Just Cause?
I am ill with a contagious disease.
Thank you very much. And do we need a
that's
motion for
sufficient.
that?
We're good.
Okay, we will move on to item D3, select the chair and vice chair. So we will now select a new chair and then a new vice chair for this commission. Typically, this is a process that happens each May after new commissioners are appointed in April, and commissions annually rotate their chair and vice chair. It is also customary for the vice chair to transition into the chair role. With Chair Schmidt's vacancy this year, the EQC opted to wait until the vacancy was filled before selecting a new chair. This means that the EQC will be revisiting this chair-vice chair selection process again in May. A commissioner can hold the chair or vice chair role for back-to-back terms or multiple years. Do we have any clarifying questions from the EQC before we take public comment? Seeing none. Ms. Launder, do we have any public comment on this item?
Sure, let me open it up for public comment on item D3, selecting chair and vice chair. If there's any public comment in the room, raise your hand. If you're joining in by Zoom, you can hit the raise hand button. And if you're calling in from a landline, you can press *9. I'm not seeing any cards or hands in the room or online, so we can close public comment and return the meeting to you.
Thank you. Do we have any nominations for chair? Commissioners are welcome to nominate themselves or another commissioner.
I would like to nominate you, Vice Chair McKenna.
Second.
Okay,
Okay, and then.
who
do
got
we-
there first for the second? Okay.
Commissioner Kissel.
So since we have a motion, a second, I'll read the motion and we'll take a vote. Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Hill and a second from Commissioner Kissel. To appoint Vice Chair McKenna as chair. And then we will do roll call vote since we have someone online. Okay. Just want to make sure my notes are good. Okay. Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes, I support the measure.
great. Commissioner Pelegrio part?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Meyer?
Yeah.
And Commissioner Headley?
Yep.
I guess Commissioner Kissel too. Great. So moved.
We need, okay.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Hill.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So moved.
Okay, thank you all. I'm honored to serve as chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
I have a comment.
Okay,
And maybe it's not as important if we're making this decision again in 2 months, but I found it very helpful to be vice chair and then chair. So maybe not this time around, but the next time we choose, it would be nice if someone's term was not expiring within 2 years. Because in the past, while we don't have to continue to do it this way, it's been typical to have the vice chair become the chair, and it's nice to know what you're doing before you get into that spot. So, but that said, I think we could really open it up for the next 2 months if anybody wants to serve in that way, regardless of their.
I'd like to nominate, Commissioner Flegry, if you're part.
Well, I was going to nominate you.
Too late.
Oh, I mean,
Does one have to accept the nomination?
No,
Oh, no, can one comment on nominating, on?
sure,
on this?
sure,
open discussion.
we're in the
so-
discussion.
So we wait for comments?
Oh, it's open discussion now.
And everyone else.
So I'm traveling in and out, because of my mother. So I don't know where I can commit for a full cycle as vice chair.
This one we're nominating through May.
Yeah, for me is fine. But just as I know. And it would be actually, I would be fine for me. Great.
So we're open to a second. We have a motion from Kissel nominating Commissioner Peligro Yopart as vice chair.
Second.
Okay, I will state the motion. We have a motion from Commissioner Kissel and a second from Commissioner Headley nominating Peligro Yopart to be appointed as vice chair. And we will do roll call voting. Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Peligro Yopart?
I guess, yeah.
Chair McKenna?
Yes.
Commissioner-
Yep.
Okay, and Commissioner Hill?
Yes,
Great. 7 in favor and 0 opposed and 0 abstaining. So moved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay.
Vice Chair Peligro Yopart. We will now move on to item D4. Report out on zero emission landscaping equipment ordinance and voucher program. For this item D3, staff will be making the presentation.
Great. And I would like to share too, you probably know some guests in the room. We have Commander Tony Dixon and we have Genevieve from Actera. While they won't be making the presentation, they'll be around for the discussion. So we're very grateful for their time. Oh, and Irving. Irvin's also from Actera. There you go. I'm very excited to be here making the zero emission landscaping equipment ordinance presentation. It's been a long time coming to provide an update to the EQC on outreach and enforcement. I don't believe we've talked about this ordinance since it began July 1 of 2024. So we'll give some good background and refresher and get everyone up to speed. And I will give credit, Liz made these slides, and so we're tag teaming here and really appreciate Liz's leadership on this program. So for this presentation, we'll be sharing some background, some details about our outreach efforts and our voucher program that we've led in partnership with Actera. We'll talk about enforcement and some next steps related to that, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss and make a recommendation if the EQC so pleases. So on July 11, 2023, City Council adopted a zero emission landscaping equipment requirement, and we might call it ZELI for short throughout this presentation, that prohibits using gasoline powered landscaping equipment due to its negative impact on health, noise, and air pollution. At the same time, they approved an electric gardening equipment rebate program and directed staff to provide public outreach and engagement. As I mentioned, July 1, 2024 was our start date for enforcing the ordinance. Gas-powered leaf blowers and string trimmers are prohibited in the city of Menlo Park. And beginning January 1, 2029, gas-powered walk-behind mowers, hedge trimmers, and chainsaws will be prohibited. Hours of operation remain the same for electric-powered equipment. We know this comes up a little bit with our noise ordinance. And violations are the responsibility of the property owner, not the landscaper or contractor. So over the last few years, we've had robust multilingual outreach and education across the city of Menlo Park and across our landscaping business community. We have an email and text group, which anyone can still sign up for, and we notified that group of this meeting. And they were notified multiple times after the July 2023 council decision. We've sent letters to Menlo Park gardening businesses with notice of adoption. We've had continuous updates to our ZELI webpage, and we've published announcements in our weekly digest. We've also been adding information in Recology billing inserts about the ordinance. And here you can see our public works team, who has all transitioned to electric blowers and string trimmers, showcasing the equipment at the Love Our Earth Festival last year. And you can see them in our parks and City Hall and Belhaven Community Campus leading by example. We've been at multiple tabling events. I mentioned the Love Our Earth Festival. We've also been at the Housing Resource Fair, among others, across the community. We sent a bilingual postcard in June 2024, letting folks know the ordinance was coming. And we've placed electronic message boards in neighborhoods where there's been a lot of reports, so kind of hot spots. So maybe you've seen that in your neighborhood. We have a lot of gratitude to our public works team for helping us get those out there. Or was it your team that did it? Your team. Both. We've also hung bilingual banners in downtown Menlo Park and Belhaven neighborhoods starting this year. Another key part besides kind of all of this education is really helping people make the transition. And so beyond providing information about available equipment and the state's incentives programs, we stepped up and provided our own voucher program. The city council allocated $70,000 for this program. I think we'll get into all of those numbers. And the city, through a competitive process, partnered with Actera to administer the voucher program to help both residents and landscaping businesses with the purchase of electric gardening equipment. And it's a really interesting structure how we designed it to work with local businesses here to sell that equipment. The program does not require any money to be paid out of pocket, and the applications were received through an online portal and through bilingual phone assistance. Actera also performs their own outreach. They had a strategic social media campaign and an email campaign and flyer distribution. There was someone on their team, Remy, who spent a lot of time getting that word out in the community. And so we're very grateful for her grassroots efforts. As far as program design, customers could shop at 3 different stores who provided education and assistance with purchasing the appropriate equipment. So someone would go to the store, find the equipment they want, and they would receive the voucher credit at the cash register. And we had 2 phases of the program. A total of $41,000 was allocated in those 2 phases. The first phase launched April 2024 and the second in September 2024. Our professional gardeners working in Menlo Park, so those who have business licenses, would receive up to $1,000. Our non-gardening businesses up to $250, and our qualifying Menlo Park residents up to $250. So if the equipment was less than those prices, they would receive the price of the equipment. If it was more, they would receive that full value. The eligibility requirements for residents were that they either had to be enrolled in government or utility financial assistance programs, CalWorks, SNAP, PG&E programs, or the Menlo Park Utility Discount Program. They could also be located in a Menlo Park neighborhood that is disproportionately burdened by multiple sources of pollution with a score above 60, according to the Cal Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, Cal EnviroScreen. I want to call out that was intentional and in alignment with the environmental justice element that asks city staff to evaluate programs based off of Cal EnviroScreen 4. And then residents over the age of 65 were also eligible for the voucher. So we've had great success with the voucher program, a lot of uptake, 50 in the first phase, 48 in the second phase, for a total of 98 vouchers. And you can see here the distribution across gardeners, businesses, and residences. And we really, you'll notice 10 gardeners each time. We capped it there to enable more of our residents to be able to access the vouchers. And a few more details here. 6 of the vouchers were issued to residents on income assistance. 18 vouchers were issued to residents based on geographic location. So those would be folks in Belhaven or suburban park area. And 50 vouchers were issued to residents who are age eligible. So that's it for the outreach piece. For enforcement, we began with an educational approach July 2024. And so we really want to make sure that, you know, our landscaping community, our residents are aware before they're, you know, getting citations or, you know, feeling confused about it. So we've had a really soft rollout with enforcement. Reports are taken by police dispatch. We've also established a portal through Act Menlo Park, where you can conveniently make a report online or through an app on your phone. And reports are also received through our sustainability number and email. All addresses reported receive a notice of violation, and we have some copies of that if that's of interest to look at during the discussion. And addresses with multiple reports have received a phone call from a police representative. Likely Commander Dixon. So we've had 611 reports to date. 200 of those reports were to police dispatch, 411 of those reports were to Act Menlo Park. And we are noticing a downward trend in reporting. And anecdotally, we've gotten a lot of feedback that, you know, hey, my neighbor stopped using their equipment, or, you know, I was able to help them get the voucher program, that sort of positive feedback and reinforcement. And here's a representation of where we're seeing the most violations. And this is just where we're seeing the most reports. You'll notice that there's more reports made in West Menlo Park than in East Menlo Park. And just wanted to share that data as it kind of informs our outreach about how we engage with the community. Next steps for enforcement, we're exploring additional outreach methods. One idea that we are working towards is updating our code enforcement door hanger. And these will be placed on the doors of addresses reported through Act Menlo Park or dispatch. And these would be placed, you know, not necessarily in real time, but by the evening parking enforcement officer or other police staff who are available. We're also looking at code enforcement visits and ramping up to begin ticketing July 1, 2025, with the first violation costing $50. And so that's the overview of our education and our enforcement efforts. And so there's a couple of questions that I wanted to pose for discussion to this group. Is, as you probably noticed in the second voucher round, we had a couple of less rebates. We do have around $6,000 remaining. So we could either reopen the program to a third round, or we could do something else that would support our outreach and enforcement efforts with that funding. And then we'd also like to understand from this commission, are there gaps in our outreach? Do you have any other ideas for ways we could be spreading the word to encourage compliance? And of course, we're open for questions too. And so with that, I'll end the presentation and I can return the meeting to you for clarifying questions.
Great, thank you, Ms. Lunder. Are there any clarifying questions from EQC before we take public comment? Commissioner Meyer?
On page 6, outreach and education, around the electronic message boards, you said that you've been putting in areas that are hotspots. Do you know which areas those are?
Yeah, so we've put them in the Stanford Hills Park neighborhood. So it's been a one-time rollout.
That's it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Can you define code enforcement visits? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Hill, please. Oh. A code enforcement visit, what is that?
Can I
Yeah.
refer to you?
Yeah.
I'll refer to Commander Dixon.
It basically just means a personal visit, so there's some houses that we haven't been able to get a hold of somebody by a letter. Or the violations, the reported violations keep occurring, so we don't have anything in-house with regard to a telephone number. And we need to make contact somehow, so we'll send somebody out to try to figure out who's there. One example that just came up is it's a new construction, new house. So we don't have anything on the new residents, no telephone number, no history. And it was just easier for us to send somebody out there to make contact, introduce ourselves. Obviously, they didn't know about the ordinance itself because in theory, they're a new resident. Provide them with some literature and then that way we start that process.
Thank you. Commissioner Hill, did you have a question?
Yeah, quick clarifying question. The request for our input on how to do more outreach, I'm just wondering, what is the underlying sort of assumption about the shortcomings of the outreach so far that might need to be addressed?
Yeah, I'll share that we're still getting a significant amount of reports for violation, and I don't think this is uncommon. We've talked to our peer cities and Los Altos, Los Gatos, Palo Alto. Palo Alto's hired a code enforcement officer just to handle this issue, and so I don't think we'll ever get to a point, or at least not in this next year, of having zero, and that's certainly a goal. But if there's things you've heard in the community or things that you think can help get us closer to compliance, and so maybe there's an idea of like they're being used at new homes or something, maybe there's a creative idea there to reach new residents. That sort of thing is what we're looking for. Did that help?
Okay,
I'm not sure whether it's clarifying or a comment, but how to deal with landlords? How do we reach out to the owners of the households when the renter is there? And, I mean, the landlord is the one who's, I mean, how do we deal with that whole space?
Yeah, for multifamily, it's a little bit more of a science because we can, once we, look at the address, we're like, oh, it's multifamily, and then we can do an internet search for the property owner and send the letter to the property management office. So that we've been able to do. It takes a little bit of extra time, so the letter, probably gets them 2 to 3 weeks after the report's made, rather than the same week. And then for the single family ones, we haven't cracked that nut yet, unless you have something in your databases that.
It just depends on, we're a small enough city, and a small enough agency that the volunteer we have come in and says, I keep getting this specific address. Or we have a school that's being rented from another school district. In that instance, I know that school's forwarding one of their landlord school district. I had to call them, say, to let them know. There was a multi-unit property that they were, the reports were coming for one unit. The landlord wasn't getting it, or he was paying, he didn't get that. So we just went to the tax rolls to figure out who the owner was and just made a phone call. So we're able, because we're small enough to do it, for certain addresses now. And that's part of the reason why we've been doing this educational outreach for so long. Because this ordinance is different in the sense, from a police perspective, it's not the violator who's responsible, the person actually using the gas equipment, it's the property owner. So we want to make sure that we've done absolutely everything that we could to make sure that they know about the ordinance itself. That's where it's really different. We went through this whole process for the noise ordinance, for the gas powered leaf blowers and that type of thing. And it was easier because it was the person doing the work with the leaf blower. And now it's make things a little bit different. We're trying to plan ahead for when we start issuing citations for potential defenses when somebody wants to appeal a citation. So we can say, no, these are the steps that we took in an effort to try to make sure that you knew what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, the scenario that I've seen in several of my neighbors is that the houses are being rented. The landlord or the house owner lives in the East Coast, right? And they work through an administrative office. So they are twice removed from, or 3 times removed from the person who's doing the landscape work. Right, so it is hard to reach out.
Let's bring that to discussion, but
Yeah.
yeah, we don't have a rental registry, so we're not necessarily as keen on those situations.
let's go to public comment. Ms. Laundrie, please.
Okay, we will open it up for public comment on item D4, report out on zero emission landscaping equipment ordinance and voucher. If you are in the room and you'd like to make public comment, I'll pass you a public comment card. Okay, and if you're online, you can press the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on your mobile device, I believe it's next to your name. And if you're calling in, you can press *9 and we'll be able to unmute you. So we'll wait for some public comment online. We have one online so far, and we have one in the room. So we can start with the one in the room. I'm just pulling up our timer here. Okay, Mr. Schmidt, you can get started when you're ready.
Thanks, again, Brian Schmidt again from Meadow Spark. One comment that I was thinking about was that maybe there should be a sudden sunsetting period for the rebates. But if there's gonna be maybe a new authorization to rebates, just capping the rebates might have the same function. And I was thinking that could also be used as a form of marketing. In other words, get your rebate while supplies last. And that should be part of the marketing of the rebate itself. I'd also just wanted to mention by coincidence that tomorrow, the Sustainable San Mateo County is doing a webinar, creating a cleaner, quieter San Mateo County, which is a focus on leaf blowers and getting rid of gas leaf blowers. So if someone were to go, if you wanted to check it out, it's at 4 p.m. tomorrow, the webinar, just go to Sustainable San Mateo County, look it up on your calendar. And then just finally that, every week, my neighbors in Redwood City remind me that I wish that Redwood City had similar ordinance. Which is more than just a slightly facetious comment, that as more and more cities do this, it's going to be standard.
Yeah.
And at some point, it might be where it might be appropriate that if every city has it, maybe it should be the professional responsibility to maintain this. We're still in an earlier period, but we can think about this several years down the line. It's the best way to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And we have one raised hand online. Emily, I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute, and you can start whenever you're ready.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for having me. I'm actually a resident of San Carlos. But I did grow up in Menlo Park, and it's interesting that the previous commenter talked about, you know, the neighbors wishing that they had this, because that's why I'm here. I'm trying to get a grassroots effort going to get San Carlos to implement a ban on gas leaf blowers. And it's really helpful to speak with folks from neighboring cities who have gotten this accomplished. The main challenges that we're running into, at least when I'm talking with our city council, and they haven't voted on it yet, but I'm hoping to bring it to a vote soon, are the enforcement issue and then also the rebate issue. So it's helpful for me to hear what's going on in Menlo Park. We don't have a police force in San Carlos, so reporting violations is, I think, something we need to figure out. But I did want to ask maybe Irvin if Actera is if you would be open to me contacting you to talk about partnering on a rebate with San Carlos, or if that was a one-off for Menlo Park.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're currently doing another electric gardening voucher equipment program with the town of Woodside. And we've gotten inquiries to do many other voucher programs similar to this. We did a voucher program with Mountain View for electric bikes. So yeah, we could definitely talk about bringing up a voucher program. Like the town of Woodside hasn't even banned gas equipment, but they're still doing this voucher program to encourage electric gardening equipment. So Actera.org, you can reach out to us there, and we'll be happy to bring up this.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm on your website now. So that's it. Just congrats to Menlo Park on implementing this. It's really inspiring to see what can be done.
Thank you for your comment and for joining us. Okay, I will make one final call for public comment. If you're in the room, you can hand me a public comment card. If you're online, you can press the raise hand button. There are no cards or hands raised, so I'll return the meeting to you, Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, just thanks to the commenters. We really appreciate public engagement. So thank you. Open it up now for EQC discussion. Commissioner Headley.
So I have one idea in terms of outreach, to reach property owners regardless of where they're at. I'm thinking about the property tax bills. that we get. And maybe we can have a little insert that was in English and Spanish, and it would go to whoever is on record as owning the property. And yeah, maybe we have some connections with the county. Who could help us figure out how that might work.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I also really like Brian Schmidt's idea of if we decide to do some additional rebates, the while supplies last to create some urgency. I also kind of like the idea of like a welcome to Menlo Park. For new residents, we could do something with the trees. And
Means like the tree ordinance.
yeah, the tree ordinance and the zelly and just anything else. we want
Overnight
to-
party.
Yeah, I don't want it to be full of all the rules.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Perhaps
it can-
sustainability.
Include some cookies or something, but like.
Well,
Or like, Menlo Park is, committed to sustainability and here are some of the things that we've been doing and how you can support this effort. I think that could be fun.
And a plate of cookies.
Yeah, welcome.
Commissioner, or sorry, Vice Chair.
Oh, my gosh. So this is a question for, I guess you, Rachel, sorry. Do we believe that people know how to report, violations? Because I find the app to be very, very useful, but I don't know whether everybody, how well known that is. I mean, we just recently got mail people asking, how do I report this thing?
Oh, that's right.
Well, me from living in Bellhaven, I didn't know we were supposed to report people using gas equipment. Until I got like the email yesterday from one of our residents. I'm like, oh, we're supposed to do it. Like, I don't see a lot of people using any more gas equipment in Bellhaven. I see a few people, but not a lot. Yeah, so I don't think people know that they're supposed to report it.
So maybe any future outreach could include that information.
How to make reports.
Yeah. And how do we say it in such a way that it's not like you're paddling on your neighbors,
Right.
turning them in?
And I think that act allows you to report it anonymously, right?
I mean, you could just urge people to kind of use like the noise issue, but it's like, did you hear this loud leaf blower in your neighborhood? Use the app,
Yeah.
let us know where you are.
I think if you frame it that a lot of folks may not know there is an ordinance,
Yeah,
as opposed to,
Yeah.
go slap their hand.
It does get a little confusing because the mowers are still permitted. And so it's unclear which is which, I think, just by listening to it.
Keep in mind that the vast majority of people in the community I spoke to who've gotten these letters have been upset that they've been falsely accused
Oh,
of
really?
Oh, yeah.
using gas powered equipment.
Yeah.
Or that they're landscapers, because I know a handful of times, at least 10, they said, I've personally purchased electric equipment for my landscaper, so I know that they're not using it. Somebody passing by must have thought it was my landscaper, but in actuality, it was my neighbor's.
Oh, interesting.
So,
And also the electric equipment is noisy. Not as noisy, but it's noisy.
Well, I think one of the questions that the staff asked was, what should we do with the extra $6,000? I don't know what communication outreach programs cost, but I'm a big fan of more carrots than sticks, so I would advocate putting a good portion of that into subsidies to make it easier to get the license.
I agree with that.
Does the city have any metric on like what form of communication results in the most engagement from the community?
Great question.
Yeah, our public engagement manager compiles that data. And by far, like the best engagement we get is from our mailers. And then from our like community events and being out in the community. because she's still building kind of our social media and our digest presence. And then also from our employees, like at the counter, or we've heard from our public works team that they get asked all the time about their equipment and about the ordinance, because people are seeing them. So it's definitely, those kind of high touch points that engage people more.
The hard copy mailers that people get in their mailbox.
Yeah.
Does the city post on Nextdoor? Can the city post on Nextdoor?
Yeah, our public engagement manager does post on Nextdoor.
That seems to be at least. For my neighbors, I seem to pay attention to what they see.
Are there landscape professional associations or organizations that might be a conduit to reaching more of those professionals?
Yeah, there is one, I don't know if you remember the name of it, Liz. That a resident recommended we reach out to, and we reached out to them. We sent them a letter and an email, and I don't recall that we heard back. To just kind of notify all of their member groups. So that's something we can follow up on too. We have had some one-off conversations with like the larger landscaping companies that operate in Menlo Park. And so we've done a lot of kind of technical assistance in meetings with larger groups, but I think what's happening is the kind of smaller businesses and you know, single landscapers are not on those listservs.
Are there any other source of funds beyond the city? Like state funds or?
Those funds have been exhausted at this point. Yeah, the core rebates.
You've gone to like. Kind of to what Andrew Dixon was saying, that. People are worried about being falsely accused, like on the app and stuff, of like. Creating like a registry or something of people, of gardeners and businesses that have purchased their electric equipment. Kind of like highlighting them with like. These are people that have done it. Good job. Here's a high five or a cookie. For them. I mean, yeah. Got better business doing that.
I can respond to that. If you want. I love the idea for case studies to start, like a marketing, highlighting some of our local landscaping. For registry, that conversation has come up, and we do have like a registry for arborists, and there have been some kind of challenges there around making sure that, you know, they're actually trained and the city's not responsible if they, you know, do bad work and that sort of thing. And so I think there's some hesitation around a registry, but that doesn't mean it can't be explored. I think that doing a sort of case study in the meantime would be really meaningful.
Walk me again through what the purpose the registry would serve.
Purpose, I mean, just again, highlighting what Andrew Dixon said, that. As we're trying to get people to stop using the gas powered leaf blowers at this point, there's too many people that are saying that they're being falsely accused, and instead of kind of like what you're saying with the stick approach, we're gonna be the carrot approach of like rewarding people or highlighting people that have done it. I mean, kind of similar to like the electric or the green home tour, whatever it's called now. Highlighting the people that have been successful, so people can see, oh, like this is how you do it. Then like the list, like I'm thinking that like the fossil free building Silicon Valley has a list of contractors that we can work with, and other just like a group and not a city, so it works differently, so that people can like, you know, that's a route. There's definitely some like procedural things, you know, equity concerns of creating some sort of list, but that would definitely be a longer conversation. But yeah, I guess think of the electric home tours, the guide, and Arcterra is very familiar with that too, so. Kind of grew up in that.
Yeah, I think I'd love to hear a little bit more from maybe Arcterra as well as our commander at the right table. Okay, our police officer here, about other things that they're hearing and that might be useful given what they've seen in other cities or with residents, and where the biggest challenges seem to be and opportunities.
Sure, with the chair's permission, we could open it up maybe to start with Actera. For some
Yeah,
discussion.
I was gonna suggest that too, so that'd be great.
Sure, yeah, for outreach to those that have been continuous, what's the correct term, the repeat offenders. So for Woodside, we did a mailer for our a mailer program for the Woodside voucher program, so it went out to all the businesses as well as all of the residents in Woodside. So that was a really high, exposure event for them. So that could be possible for Menlo Park as well for outreach. I don't know if I have much more to contribute to the engagement portion of it. You all have had such a great discussion. I mean, I do want to mention one of the main reasons why we're here too is because we have, a small pool of funding that's left over. I don't know if Rachel and Liz, it's okay for me to bring this up right now. Yeah, we have about $6,000 and some change left over for vouchers to disperse to the community. So one of the things that we were brainstorming with Liz and Rachel was, do we want to prioritize that funding possibly for those repeat offenders and give them the opportunity to change their ways, if you will, and go on electric? Or do we want to do it, maybe in line with Earth Month, because Earth Month is coming up soon, and the contract that we had, or the eligibility that we had previously, was also really geared towards vulnerable communities and residents. So folks that were over 65 that were living in vulnerable zones. Do we want to expand that? Do we want to remove those eligibilities so that we can reach some more folks? So that was one, aspect that I want to, bring to you all as well, to see how do we want to use. It's a small pool of funding, but it can go a long way. And we, $6,000, we wanted to go to reducing emissions in Menlo Park in this way. So yeah, that's my little bit. I don't know, Irvin, if you have anything else to add.
No, I think that about covers it.
I have a question. Have there been additional people applying for funds that we weren't able to say yes to, or? And what categories do they fall into?
There were about 7 applications who were ineligible. And that's just because of the eligibility requirements that we had set for the program, where they had to be over 65, they had to be in a disadvantaged community according to the CARB 4.0 map. So they were some people who were left out of the program from receiving a voucher just because of the requirements that were set.
Thank you.
The repeat offenders, are those the same property address keeps doing it, or the same landscape professional keeps getting called an offender, or is it a little bit of both? Do you know the nature of the repeat offenders?
This is the one looking at all the secret fix reports.
It's the same address multiple times. We don't really have a lot of data on who the landscaper is unless we get a picture or something like that. And if we do get a picture, we'll send them a letter and say, hey, this is the rule, but but yeah, it's repeat offenders are the same address multiple times.
And it's usually the same reporting party too.
Yes.
Sorry, what?
Same reporting party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How many do we have? Are we talking 3 or 20, 200?
How many, what?
Repeat offenders?
Just looking to see if we have that number in here. I would say the magnitude of like 10 to 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these are people that we have confirmed that they actually are offending. No, we just get.
Their names come up on a list, either be from the police department, so we have 2 different lists.
Yeah.
If you call the police department, there's a list that's generated from our in-house computer system. And there's a C-code fix or an ACT list. And then the volunteer goes through and creates letters, creates one, 2 lists. It's, nothing is verified at all. I mean, each of these things you take with a grain of salt. I know that for code enforcement, the police department, we have one person on, goes for a walk every day after trash day and reports every house that hasn't taken the garbage cans in within 5 hours after the garbage has been picked up. So we'll get 40 reports of that within 1 day. So I mean, I'm not saying they're not genuine, but we're trying to do what we can with all those reports. And we're not sending letters out for those. So there are a handful of addresses when you compare them to the number of households in the city that are repeat offenders. And then those are the ones that I'll take off to the side and as time permits, try to make a phone call or send somebody out to. Or perhaps there's somebody who really has a strong desire to make a point to one of their neighbors. They'll contact the police department directly and say, I need to speak to somebody, so it'll come to me. This is different. We have a volunteer who's helping us out do this. We don't have the staff to really, like, Rachel was talking about assigning somebody. We just don't. So I've been doing this kind of in between different things. The volunteer comes once a week. She's a retired police officer, so that's been helpful as well. So there has been a lot of energy devoted to education. I mean, more so than some of the other previous ordinances that we have. But mainly because, like I said, it's not the offender who's gonna be getting a citation, but somebody who potentially is not even home. So, and that's where a lot of the discussion that I've had with some of the homeowners and for people reporting is, how is this gonna be later on down the road when we start doing citations? If it's reported with a photograph of a guarding truck in front of an address with the house numbers visible, is that enough to generate a violation? And I don't know the answer. I don't know if we were to generate a citation and that person were to file an appeal with the referee or commissioner, whether or not that's enough to say, okay, well, we'll let this one slide this time. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out.
What were you saying?
Well, I was just thinking about the additional funding and wondering, like, I imagine there's a landscape of landscape professionals where there's larger companies and there's smaller sort of mom and pop organizations, and wondering if maybe the larger organizations are complying and the smaller ones are struggling to do so, and maybe targeting the funds to those smaller landscape professionals. That's a lot of guesswork on my part, but if that's true, I wonder if there's a way to get those smaller companies the funds to help them make the transition.
I'm curious to hear from Actera on that, if there's been any like intentionality with Woodside around that. I know we, emailed folks in our business license database and tried to make contact with the smaller folks, but often they're unlicensed. So I'm wondering if you're grappling with that or solved for that with your program 2.0.
I don't know if we have an answer for that with Woodside, if we've done anything different. I think actually with Menlo Park, we did a lot more intentional outreach actually with landscaping businesses, I feel like, with Menlo Park, because you all had that conversation with landscaping businesses saying this is going to be happening, we want to support you, this is, and you had that listserv. With Woodside, it's a little bit different, it's a lot more grassroots, and so we don't have that network of landscapers like we did in Menlo Park. So it's a little bit different in that sense. The one thing that's different also I'll mention too with Woodside is we're also providing vouchers at the same level as residents to brick and mortar businesses as well. So that's something that's a little bit different. It's so any downtown business in Woodside can also apply for the stipend. Maybe that's a little bit different.
Yeah, and I can add something that the program with Menlo Park did really well is allowing these small gardening businesses that don't have a business license in the town of Menlo Park or the city of Menlo Park to still receive a voucher. Whereas the town of Woodside is requiring for them to apply for a business license to receive the voucher. So I think it's really well where we, during the voucher process, we saw small gardening businesses that they live in the town, in the city of Redwood City, but they actually do some landscaping business for properties in Menlo Park. And as long as we saw an invoice of that, we were giving them the $1,000 voucher. So I think that small requirement of not allowing them not requiring them to have a business license was beneficial to those small gardeners.
Do you think there are more of those people who would benefit from the voucher? Like, do we have a list of people who've applied and we weren't able to give them money?
I think I
Sorry.
think all of the small gardening businesses that applied were able to receive the vouchers. I think it was some of like the brick and mortar businesses that Genevieve was mentioning that were ineligible for some reason, like they might have been outside of the city limit.
And it
So when
also-
you were talking about, sorry, about that list of people that had applied that were not ineligible, weren't eligible, are those the ones you're describing, the brick and mortar?
Sorry, there was some and that don't do business in Menlo Park that were not eligible. And their business is just not in Menlo Park. Some that had applied twice from the previous round, and then this other round, they wanted more. And those were the businesses that were ineligible. But then the rest were more, what is it? Just mostly residents that were ineligible. So I think it was about 2 businesses that were ineligible, and then the rest were residents.
They were ineligible because they were maybe in like county property as opposed to Menlo Park proper?
One of them is because they had already applied for the first round. Another one was just they were not in the Menlo Park vicinity. And so they just heard about the program and they wanted to apply, but they were not eligible because they were outside of city and county limits.
We
I think-
accidentally sent the postcard to the unincorporated pocket of Menlo Park.
Oh, I see.
And they were all very jealous of the voucher program and the regulation as well. So that's what those leads were from.
Do we have any sense for how much it would cost to send a mailer? Like maybe a postcard to everyone in Menlo Park, or like a little thing into the property tax statement?
Yeah, I should have shared that. As far as upcoming outreach, we are gonna do a citywide mailer. And we're getting quotes on that right now, and we've basically finalized the design.
Okay.
And so that is something we can do. And we don't need to use that $6,000 budget for that. We have a
Okay.
separate kind of advertising budget.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 6K we're talking about is the money that Actera has for rebates.
Yeah, so they could either use it for rebates, they could use it for like a digital ad campaign, they could use it for purchasing demonstration equipment or checkout equipment. Our list of creative ideas kind of ends there.
Well, I would say let's do more rebates and let's do it, like, get it while it lasts, and maybe we expand the eligibility criteria for residents and I would
Yeah.
just use the money all for that, especially if we have a separate marketing budget that we can use to get a postcard to all the residents and or property owners. Let's just use the $6,000. It seems like it's going like hotcakes.
Yeah.
So let's get it out there.
Cool.
I agree, especially not using the budget for like showcasing equipment or whatever,
Yeah.
because you could just ask the people who have
Yeah.
bought.
Right,
stuff
it's already,
already being showcased.
yeah. I also wonder, like with our city people who are role modeling, the city landscapers, if they had like a little business card in their pocket when someone says, ooh, what's that? And they pull it out and they can give it to them and there's something where they can learn about Zelly equipment and how to get the rebate.
One thing,
Which is faster.
Yeah. Yeah,
one other idea with Woodside, we did a e-garden demonstration event as well. So we're going to be partnering with the city of Menlo Park for the Love Our Earth Festival, and maybe we can do a little e-garden demonstration, invite some of the vendors that are part of it just to show off their equipment as well.
Do we have a Love Our Earth booth with this again?
We haven't, I don't believe contact has been made with the vendors. The local stores are Gardenland and Ace Hardware. I'm not sure, Genevieve, if you've made initial contact with them yet.
Oh,
About-
about us renewing.
No, about Love Our Earth.
Oh, no, I have not done that, but they would do it at a moment's notice. They are always eager to show off their equipment.
Crazy. Okay, any further discussion on this topic? Any specific questions you have for us?
I could summarize what I heard, and if I'm missing anything, that would be a good
Yes.
opportunity.
Yeah.
No, in no particular order here. I heard exploring the registry of landscapers who've made the transition and or case studies. I heard putting the $6,000 into subsidies with a while it lasts sort of message. I've heard reaching out to landscaping professional affinity groups. Outreach focused on how to report violations. A flyer, some sort of handout for new residents that informs them of our sustainability initiatives, including this law. Information on property tax bills in coordination with the county. Having an exhibit at Love Our Earth Festival. And offering our public works team some sort of business card so they can hand it out to community members that they speak to. Does that capture everything?
If so, anything missing?
We had also talked about emphasizing how to report.
Yes, so we'll emphasize that one and think about some careful messaging around that. And timing too.
Do we need to talk about expanding eligibility in a more formal way? Because we probably need to go to city council for that. Or not so much?
It would definitely need to go to city council, and I can't picture with their looking ahead at their kind of calendar that they would. We do have an info item on the Zelly scheduled for later in the summer, like after they get through the priorities and budget process, which I think would be kind of too late to tack it onto that item. So I think opening it up with kind of the same eligibility, but maybe focusing on the landscaping businesses might be the right move.
Great.
And this isn't an action item, so we don't have to make a motion or anything.
I feel like if the money isn't all spent, the $6,000, we should flag it as a thing to expand the eligibility criteria for whenever city council has time.
Okay. Yeah, and part of what happened with that money is we had a long wait list, so we closed the program, and then as we got through the wait list, people,
Right.
dropped out of the program, and we'd kind of already stopped messaging that the program was available, and so we got through our wait list, and we were like, oh, we have some money left.
Okay, cool.
So hopefully there's some renewed interest if maybe we target the landscapers who we know maybe have had violations or are struggling.
Yeah, great.
Some focused outreach.
I
Okay.
mean, somewhat different, but do we have a feeling about how the residents are reacting to the program? Do they feel that it's making good progress? Because me personally, as a resident, it feels like we have been making very good progress. Any sense?
Well, we probably feel that,
Yeah.
residents are a little angry because we're not, there's not a lot of uptick on people complying. We don't get a lot of positive feedback. So
right.
that's probably one of the first times, or maybe two or three people, or like the person who joined today saying, it's great. There's some positive feedback, but not a lot. Most of it is, please enforce it, and which we plan on doing on the timeline that we discuss.
It's escalated to, why aren't you doing your job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But we have seen a decrease in reports, so whether it's due to people, feeling tired of reporting, or they're really seeing a change in their neighborhood.
But we have not proactively asked for feedback. So
There's
we're
not
only
been a
getting the
survey.
feedback when
Right.
people were complaining.
Mhm.
Would that be worth trying to do?
It might.
Reaching out and I mean, a general. Hey, this is working, it could be also be part of the same. Reminder about how to use the act. It's like, oh, here's stuff and you have feedback, give it.
I mean, I just downloaded the app and I feel like there should be a opportunity for gratitude or like what's working. I mean, and then we could direct people there and. It'd be a nice way to
I
think.
went through and counted and there's 25 addresses with 3 or more complaints.
25 what?
Addresses with 3 or more complaints.
Oh, wow.
Do you know whether they are all coming from the same person?
No,
The
they're
same
not all
paper?
coming from the same person, but there is a handful of
Uh-huh.
same reporters. So, yeah.
So reaching out to them sounds like it might actually, I mean, making the offer of, oh, we have extra money here for.
Mhm.
It might be somebody that is doing it themselves. Interesting. Thank you.
Keep in mind, the ban for rebates is gonna increase after the first ticket's given,
Right, exactly.
so.
Is there a timing when you expect to start giving
We were
tickets?
talking about starting in July. So once that first person gets a citation and they understand that their landscaper is not using the proper equipment, they'll be the first person to say,
Yeah.
why don't you go ahead and rebate?
Yeah.
And to note, we will need to spend this fund before the end of the fiscal year, so for June 30th.
Okay.
So at maybe a point in the summer, the EQC might want to revisit, like making a recommendation to council to expand the rebate program if we're seeing success with the 6,000. If there's an interest in around 4. And then we could include that in our staff report for late summer.
Do you think we need to expand eligibility, or did the first 2 tranches go out quickly? Did they get consumed quickly?
Very quickly.
So not that we need to necessarily expand eligibility, we just need to announce that there's a new program.
Yeah, and looking at the data, we were, I don't know if disappointed is the right word, but we were hoping for more residents from the Columbaro screen to take advantage of the program because of the poor air quality impacts. And so maybe starting with outreach there.
Or where?
In the Columbaro screen area, so in Bellhaven and parts of Suburban Park.
Well, certainly if there have been multiple reports of
Mhm.
incidents, that would be a great place to start.
Great. Well,
And like hey, you need to do this or you're gonna get a fine, and there's money eligible, so avoid the fine, get the thing, make the air better.
Or an end stick.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I want to express gratitude to the staff for working on this and Actera for your help with the vouchers and to our police force for protecting and serving our city.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, D5. Consider disbanding or selecting additional commissioners to ad hoc subcommittees. So this item provides the commission with an opportunity to select new commissioners to ad hoc subcommittees or to disband ad hoc subcommittees that do not have sufficient participation. For background, the EQC's ad hoc subcommittees consist of 2 to 3 commissioners, which enables discussion topics outside of the regular EQC meetings. An ad hoc subcommittee is active for 1 to 2 months and will typically make a presentation on findings at an EQC meeting before disbanding. Looking at our work plan, the Climate Change, Resilience, and Adaptation Ad hoc Subcommittee is seeking 1 to 2 commissioners to join before a report out at the April or May EQC meeting. This ad hoc subcommittee will be focused on providing feedback to staff to implement CAP 6, to develop a climate adaptation plan to protect the community from flooding and sea level rise. Any interested commissioners can volunteer. Are there any clarifying questions from EQC before we take public comment? Seeing none, Ms. Launder, do we have any public comment?
Let me open up public comment for item D5, consider disbanding or selecting additional commissioners to ad hoc subcommittees. Do we have any public comment in the room? Great, and if you're online, you can hit the raise hand button or press *9 if you're calling in. I don't see any hands raised or cards in the room, so we can return the meeting to you, Chair.
Okay, so we can open up for discussion. I'll just say that I am the lone commissioner on this subcommittee right now. I think it's a really important topic that we do have a subcommittee on, so I welcome 1 or 2 to join me. Anybody interested? I'll join. Right?
Can I continue too?
Great. Should we have a motion? Does anybody, we have to max at 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Then, I guess I'll make a motion that Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner sorry, Lopez
Hernandez.
Hernandez join the ad hoc subcommittee.
A second.
Okay. We have a motion from Chair McKenna and a second from Commissioner Headley to have Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner Hernandez join the Climate Change Resilience and Adaptation Ad Hoc Subcommittee, which will be reporting out in April or May. Do you have a preference?
May.
Okay, we'll be reporting out in May. Okay, we will do our roll call voting. Commissioner
Yeah.
Hernandez,
Yeah.
Commissioner Pelegrini first,
Yep.
and Commissioner Hill.
Yes.
Okay, so moved with 7 in favor, 0 abstaining.
Great, thank you all. We'll now move on to agenda item E, reports and announcements. This is an opportunity to hear reports and announcements from staff and commissioners. Staff, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thanks for letting me talk so much. I have a hearty list of updates, so hang in there. I'll start with the city council items that are upcoming. Saturday is our priority setting session with city council. I wanted to highlight that the environmental justice element will be receiving a lot of attention at that meeting. So it'd be great to have you all participate in whichever way you feel comfortable to on a Saturday. On Tuesday, March 25th, so this upcoming Tuesday, the city council will be meeting at the Belhaven Community Campus, and they will also be discussing environmental justice progress, as well as possible program enhancements and new project ideas under the home upgrade program, $4.5 million state grant. And so EQC members are welcome to make public comment relative to action that the commission took there. And then on April 9th, bless you, April 9th is when our applications close for our upcoming vacancy. So we'll have one vacancy and applications for that will close April 9th, and our whoever fills that vacancy will be joining us at our May meeting.
Sorry, what's the vacancy for?
So Commissioner Hill's term ends April 30th.
I'm applying to be reappointed.
Be what?
She's gonna reapply.
Oh,
And then for other items I wanted to share, we have quite a few relative to our facilities. On March 31st to April 1st, for all you Burgess Pool users, we're gonna be replacing the hot water heaters that power the showers. So just a note that there'll be cold showers as we get the heat pumps installed, which we're excited about. And those were free of charge through the PG&E government K-12 program. And Ori's been coordinating with our facilities and library and community services team on that. We also coordinated applications to the Bay Area Regional Energy Network's decarbonization showcase for 3 of our facilities. I'm so hoping to get technical assistance and up to $300,000 to electrify the ARC, the Belhaven Child Development Center, and our Burgess Pool. So we'll keep you posted on that. We were awarded by MTC $2,297,000 for EV charging at the Burgess campus and parking lot 7 and 8. So that was announced last Friday, and we're excited for that funding.
How many chargers will that get us?
36,
Nice.
as well as readiness for an additional 26 fleet chargers.
It's amazing.
It's very exciting. And the Belhaven Community Campus received its LEED Platinum certification. Yeah, so that's been finalized and we're working on getting the plaques for that building. We'll also be recognizing the Belhaven Community Campus at the Sustainable San Mateo County Award Celebration on April 3rd. We're excited to get an honorable mention for Green Building. It's a prestigious award with only 2 buildings in the county receiving that award annually. And our Love Our Earth Festival on April 26th at the Belhaven Community Campus. Wanted to make sure that the community had it on their calendars and that everyone feels invited to the free Community Earth Day celebration. And I think I will stop there. Thank you.
That's a lot to
Thank you.
celebrate.
Yeah.
Ms. Poppy, any?
She took it all.
Oh.
No, yeah, thank you. I think she covered everything.
Were we supposed to do public comment on this one?
On updates?
Report, no, okay.
No.
Any reports or announcements from commissioners? Okay, I'll make a couple. Sort of good news, bad news. The good news is it's not completely applicable to our situation here in California, but there was a very similar court case in the city of New York that was similar to the Berkeley lawsuit, which struck down Berkeley's ability to ban gas from new construction. The New York City ordinance was very similar, had some differences, but the basis of the argument was the same argument in the Berkeley case, which was that Berkeley's law was preempted by the federal law, EPCA, Energy Policy and Conservation Act, I believe is what it stands for. And so the good news is that this case in New York City was dismissed by the court. And so they did not agree with the EPCA preemption argument. So that's a good result at this point of the proceeding. And then just wanted I don't know if we brought this up previously, but there's a state bill called AB 306, which basically would put a moratorium on all new building codes at the state and local level for the next 6 years, starting in June of this year. It was introduced by the Speaker of the Assembly, Rivas, and co-authored by Schultz out of Burbank. It's taken the first step in actually 2 steps so far. It's gone through the Housing Committee in the Assembly. It passed unanimously. It just went through appropriations today and is moving on probably to the Assembly floor, maybe as early as Monday of next week. If it passes there, then it would go to the Senate and go through that process. This is a bill that would really hinder Menlo Park's ability to achieve its climate action plan goals, because building codes are a really helpful tool in getting us to reduce our emissions from buildings. So there is a letter being drafted that local governments can sign on to. We will share that with the city once it's available, and hopefully it's something that can either be significantly amended or defeated altogether, because it's a really troublesome bill when it comes to making progress on emissions reductions and climate action. So just want to make that announcement, make sure folks are aware of that bill.
And the only positive thing about that bill is that it was clarified that it will not affect the 2025 cycle of the.
Well, that's the way the bill is written now. There's concern that it would affect the 2025 code. Not to get in the weeds too much, but the intent seems to be that it would not. So hopefully that's at least an amendment that will be made. But we need a lot of other amendments as well.
Yeah, and I was referring to the analysis from the commission.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess my only comment in general is to be aware of that. This is the right time to keep an eye on the legislature. I mean, there's a lot of bills going on out there. It's hard to track, but there are many very important bills on climate, on energy, on electrification, and there's a push on, I guess, affordability from the top, from the governor, that I think is something to keep an eye on, because on using that term, a number of things are happening. We should keep an eye. So as individuals, we should track it.
Well, beyond track it, I mean, so there's a website I've been following some threads on Nextdoor, where you can find out who your assembly person, your state senator is. That's where, I mean, for us to know about it, that's great. You need to let your representative know so that they can advocate on our behalf. So highly encourage that, and I did. So the 3 of us have been communicating with our senator. But I encourage everybody as citizens, for topics that you care about, make sure to reach out to your assembly.
Anything, any other reports or announcements? No? Okay, then we'll move on to agenda item F. Informational items. our next item is informational items. Informational items are transmitted to the EQC and staff's efforts to provide updates. Informational items are not action items. However, city council staff or members of the public may ask questions or make comment. Are there questions or comments from EQC on informational item F1 2024-25 Environmental Quality Commission Work Plan? Seeing none, Ms. Launder, do you have any public comments on this?
Sure, let me open up public comment for item F, informational items. F1, the 2024-25 Environmental Quality Commission Work Plan. If there's any public comment in the room, you can fill out a comment card and hand it back to me. If you're online, you can raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. And if you're calling in from a phone, you can press *9 and we'll be able to unmute you. I'm not seeing any cards in the room or hands online, so I will return the meeting to you, Chair.
Great, well, thank you everyone for being here. Commissioner Hill, feel better, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.